Hi, my name is Mina Rickey,
And I am Lydia Korjak.
and today we are introducing Cindy Lee Wilson, a seasoned professional with over 25 years of expertise in the commercial and residential collections industry.
Cindy Lee specializes in providing superior ARR management services, collection services, and asset liability reports to select clienteles.
Notable property owners and management companies, including JLL, Simon, Comcast, Xfinity, DLC, Angie's List, URW Westfield, Duralast Roofing, and Colliers rely on Cindy Lee's exceptional skills.
With contingency-based fee structure, Cindy Lee commitments to her client's success is unwavering.
Expect meticulous attention to detail, speed, and thoroughness in handling every account.
Cindy Lee, trusted choice for superior residential and commercial collection services.
And welcome to the show, Cindy.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome. Great to see you again.
Yeah. After our brief encounter in Las Vegas, that was a blast, though.
I know. I
Hey.
watched you there.
Hey, girls, what happened in Vegas, right?
Days in Vegas. and, and Cindy was amazing. She had her scooter on, she was driving her scooter, and another one, she had a little tequila going. So I'm like, I gotta meet this woman. What is this all about?
Well, why don't we start there? Where were you guys? How did you meet? What were you doing at that place? What was going on? Let's just start there.
Yeah, Cindy. What were you doing there,
Yeah.
girl?
The salesperson in me, how do I say it? I believe in the universe, everything happens for a reason. And whether I'm gambling or I'm meeting people, I feel drawn to certain people, certain areas. And Lydia was standing behind the booth. And I, yes, was in my scooter because I've had knee replacement surgery. And I had the double Patron margarita that another guy bought me from. He was like the president of one of the other big companies that were there. And I met him in line. And then I'm driving along, and then something just pulled me to Lydia. And I just started talking. I don't question it when I get pulled in a direction. I just go with it and embrace it. And those have been some of my best contacts and best connections. So literally, I felt drawn to Lydia, went up to her, started talking, saying what I was doing. And then she was going 90 miles an hour. And she was like, oh my God, we have this and this and this. And when I started telling her what, I do and how I could help, and I'm here if you need me, gave her the info. And then one thing led to the other. And here we are. So it was meant to be.
Absolutely. And tell me, what is it that you do? I was reading your bio, and I know that it's asset and liability research on companies. But tell me
No.
in
What? No.
words for adults, like, tell me what exactly that you do.
I help people help themselves. And
Oh.
when I say that, that is in all avenues when it comes to commercial, AR management, commercial real estate, managing properties, ownership, the whole 9 yards, anything to do with your money. Yes, asset searches are a part of that, but that's just a little part. What it comes down to is if you have a business who owes you money, and a lot of times, a lot of the, how do I say it? Older generations have always been accustomed to everything goes legal. This is what you do. You get a judgment. Well, what they forget to mention to you is that you have to try to collect on the judgment. More importantly, typically you're paying the attorneys by the hour. So they get paid no matter what, because this is the road you've always gone down. When you place accounts with me, then everything we do is on a contingency. So if we're putting money in your pocket, that's when you incur a bill. With that being said, there's a lot of steps internally that clients can take, or if they're in the process of setting up an AR department, or if they don't have a helping hand right now. A lot of people with pandemic lost a lot of people. So there were quite a few companies that we were managing their AR for a few months until they got people or procedures in place. Because if you think about it, yes, you have sales, you have advertising, you have, the centers, product, the whole 9 yards. But ultimately, what does it all come down to? The money. And if you don't have tenants paying you, if you don't have your customers putting money back in your pocket and you keep putting it out, sooner or later it's going to catch up. And what you want to try to do is nip it in the bud, keep it from happening to where you're the one left holding the bag. And so, depending upon what your specific situation is, I might recommend, we give you a helping hand with just a couple accounts you're having issues with. You might have a whole pile of them. You might have agreements that you're having issues with that I help you with the language as far as recommendations. You might need, specific people. I'm kind of like a catch-all. And I am not a yes person. I am not going to tell you guys what you want to hear. I tell it like it is. Yes, I have a mouth on me. I cuss and swear. I try not to, but probably one of the things that gets under my skin the most is the professional debtors who know how to play the game. And that's something that is one of my expertise. You will not find anybody better in this industry that knows how to play the game than me. And when these people, hide behind the corporate shell companies or, the personal guarantees that are bogus, or, the list goes on and on and on. That's where I look for a hot button to push and literally get underneath people's skin. I am not a collector. I work for a couple different agencies. I have for many, many years. I personally train the collectors and worked with them, and we have an awesome thing going on. So you could have somebody that has 500 accounts that needs to be placed. I can take those no problem, make mincemeat of them, or you could have somebody that has a couple thousand, or you could have somebody that has a couple, one or two. And if it's important to you, it's important to me. So that means even if you have one account that's only like, I can't talk. I know I have not been drinking, but if it's like $500, if it's important to you, it's important to me. You place it. I'll have a collector actually working that account for you. And typically when you place an account with me, we start on them within the hour. And when I say I'm not a yes person, if I see something that comes up as a problem that I think you're doing wrong, I will tell you so. And I won't sugarcoat it either. And sometimes people will be like, well, blah. And I say, you know what? You hire me to look out for your best interests. That's exactly what I'm doing. If I see a problem, I'm going to bring it up to you. And you want to banter back and forth or yell at me? Go for it. Because this is, again, about helping you help yourself. And sometimes you got to hear it, even though you may not like it, but it also helps gives you another perspective, a different way of looking at things. And maybe things that you didn't really think about before, or maybe you did think about, but you never acted on it. So I kind of light a fire under some people. And believe it or not, I have some of my clients that it's too funny. I have some big name clients that maybe only have an account like once a year, once every couple of years. And things kind of fall through the cracks, sometimes with COVID. And sometimes I'll answer the phone from a client from a while ago, and the first words out of their mouth is, don't yell at me. Because they know they're going to get a butt chewing because it's either old and gnarly or it's like, what the hell,
But seriously, we need to have those people in our team because we don't know everything. And actually, the mindset that we might be working and operating under might not be working for us anymore. It used to work 10 years ago, but it doesn't work now. And we need somebody to tell us, hey, girl, keep it together. This is how it works. And we need to hear it. Then we say, oh, okay. So, okay. And I get it now. So that's
here's
really,
a
really
question for you. What is an attorney's single greatest asset?
Conflict?
Lydia, what's your answer?
Power.
Okay. So when you think about it, an attorney's single greatest asset, which is the way that a lot of people always everything went to the attorney. And I'm not saying all attorneys are bad. I have attorneys who are actual clients of mine as well. Okay. But an attorney's single greatest asset is the ability to expand time because they get paid based on hours, not results. If they take something to court and it starts out with a couple $100, well, we got to send them a default and then it sits for 30 days. Well, now we got to, we'll escalate it. We'll file court. We'll do this. We'll do that. And then all of a sudden, you got a bill of a couple thousand. And then, well, we got to do this and we got to do that. And I don't know. Do I have to keep it totally clean on this show?
No, it's all adults. I don't know any children that listen to real commercial real estate
Well,
podcasts.
If we get banned, that's
it's
okay.
not bad, but somebody might take offense to it. I'm not trying to, but when you think about it, there are attorneys out there who, what it comes down to, they suck you in and they suck you off, because the longer it takes them to do it, the more money they make. And if things are going, a little tough, or they're just making bank, then, it takes what it takes, but there's no sense of urgency. There's no sense of like, well, how long for this? How long for that? And face it, with a lot of clients in different parts of the United States, how many months or how many years does it take to see the inside of a courtroom to even get in front of a judge? And I know that it's gotten better, but in the meantime, what happens with that tenant? Okay. Whether it's an office park or it's a shopping center or whatever the case is, but what happens? There is nothing that keeps that tenant or that individual or that company from basically getting rid of everything they own, transferring it to other people's names, so that by the time you do get to court, I got a judgment. It cost me 10 grand for this judgment. And guess what? The debtor doesn't have a pot to piss in now because they got rid of it all. And it's all perfectly legal. So there's, but when you place an account with me, and especially think about this, Mina, you get on the phone, you're on the phone with a tenant, they piss you off, you want blood, so to speak.
That would be me. Mina is nice. That would be me.
Okay, so Lydia, you want blood. Mina's the nice one. She says, Lydia, we have a bloodbath. She gives it to you. Your hands are tied. I mean, we can joke and, say bloodbath and send out Guido and all this stuff. But ultimately, everything we do is by the book, above board, completely legal. But when I say stuff like that, it helps clients like get a little sense of stress relief, because now they're kind of laughing about it because they can picture, some of these evil things actually, happening or taking place.
There are tenants that are working the system.
Correct.
Oh my God. That's what they do. They are professional bloodsuckers. And if you get one of these guys, you have to act. Don't wait. Oh my goodness.
The old way has always been to go legal. And that's where you get sucked in and sucked off by the attorney and everything is on, because this professional debtor already knows how to play the flipping game. But now you call me and say, Cindy, this guy pissed me off, or this lady pissed me off. Here's what's going on. I will have a collector on it within the hour making contact. First and foremost, what's going to happen with that? It's going to send a message loud and clear to that person. You mean business. Okay. It's not like the old way where, they're waiting here for an attorney or you're threatening them with legal. No, you don't play that game. You don't make idle threats, because you have to remember a tenant is like a little kid. They learn by example. And if you have some, little kid, you say, don't cross this line or I'm going to beat you. The little kid crossed the line, nothing happens. They do it again, nothing happens. Pretty soon they know, she doesn't mean what she says. I can do whatever the hell I want. Well, it's no different than with a tenant. And especially on the in possession ones, people forget tenants talk to other tenants. Correct. Everybody knows what's going on. So that's the other thing I say. If you have a problem center, you place everything all at once, because then you tell them there's a new sheriff in town and everybody's getting hit with the same thing. Everybody's going, what the hell did Lydia do? What the hell did Mina do? I got that call too. Holy shit. And we tell people what we are doing, what we're going to be doing. And that lets them know we mean business. More importantly, you mean business, because typically what happens is they'll come running back to you and you're going to say, I tried to work it with you, but now you're in collections. And now you have to deal with the collection people. And that's all you have to say. Then you let me know right away. Then the collector's back in contact with them immediately. And that sends a message loud and clear. The left hand knows what the right hand is doing. We show a united front. We mean business. And I mean, there's more to it, but I saw you had your...
Well, Cindy, let me ask you, is it more difficult in some states, like some blue states versus red states, or what's going on with all those protect the tenant laws and all of that?
What color is money?
Green.
It's
or
It's
girls, depends.
standalone. But I will tell you certain states, now, maybe the laws have changed. I am not an attorney. However, some of the stuff that we have run into, I'll give you an example. In Texas, I had a lady place a judgment. Okay. We were able to find bank account. We were able to seize the funds in the bank account. That's a whole nother story. But in the state of Texas, which I did not know this until this account was a couple of years ago, like 3, 4 years ago, in the state of Texas, not only is there a homestead exemption, and if I remember right, I want to say it was like $1 million. So if you have somebody that owns a home that's 600,000 outright, you cannot touch it because it's covered by the homestead exemption. Okay, so that's number one.
Mhm.
The biggest thing though is there is no frigging wage garnishment. So you have somebody that owes you money, they own a home, and they're working a job. The one we had, the lady was working in a Montessori school. We could not touch her wages. She'd been there 6 years. She was probably making 5,000, 6,000 a month easily, but we could not garnish her wages because of the wage garnishment laws, which I'm also told also exist in South Carolina, and they might be in a few other states as well. Then there's also the things you run into, like, for example, with New York, and I want to say it's New York City and then other cities in New York. You get a judgment because sometimes people will get a judgment from out of state and then they go to perfect the judgment in another state, which basically means I have a judgment here. I want to make it valid in New York. Well, if it's in New York City, they don't allow that. So you have to refile all the court stuff and get a judgment in New York City versus if it's like, say, Yonkers or something, then you can perfect the judgment. I mean, there's all these different laws. There's all these different things. And I think maybe that's where the red states, blue states maybe come into play to a certain degree. But for us, because we're not attorneys, we are not bound by the same code of ethics. And that's not to imply anything we do is illegal, as it isn't. Everything is above board. But when I tell, and keep in mind, this is my collectors talking to the debtors. When my collectors are talking to them, and let's say, well, for example, in this particular industry, this is the only industry you're going to find where debtors, tenants, etc., have the entrepreneurial spirit. They're going to try one business after another until they find something that works. So it's not uncommon for you to have a connection or have a tenant that also owns XYZ company and ABC company, or they have 10 locations of this other company. I mean, they got their fingers into a lot of different pies, kind of like somebody else I've met in Vegas, that told me, yeah. So, I mean, it's not uncommon because you have the entrepreneurial spirit and you're like, oh, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. Well, part of our research, especially on big dollar accounts when things are placed with us, we find out, have we had them in collections before? Do we have past history, current history, other businesses they owned? Have they filed bankruptcy, personal guarantee, corporate guarantee? The list goes on, ladies. But the biggest thing is that it might be something as simple as, Mina, we know you have ABC company over at Westfield. Do you know we have collections for them? Even though all those people, well, and I guess I didn't mention them yet, but Simon, Westfield, JLL, DLC, WS, Colliers, Athena. Oh my God. I mean, I probably have 1,500 clients, and the bulk of these clients have been with me for like 20 plus years. So if I need to know information or something's going on, I can find out in a roundabout way, meaning they have a location here, they have a location here. Are they current? Are they past due? What's the scoop? I mean, everything we do is completely legal. However, your tenants, your debtors, the people that owe you money, don't want us nosing around in their affairs because, again, we tell them what we are doing, what we're going to be doing, and what we have done. And that usually gets their full attention. Plus, keep in mind, successful collections is 100% psychology. Getting them to do what you want them to do without them knowing that you did it. That's the bottom line. So it's advantageous. They pay us because they want to.
I will argue that everything in this any kind of business, not only collection, it's a psychological game, and it
Mhm.
is just guiding their thoughts. Anyways, what happened to that lady in Texas, the Montessori teacher?
Oh, she placed the account with us, and the bank account was set up with her son. He was able to prove that some of the money in there was his, so we got that money back, but we were still able, unbelievable, after 5 years. That's how long the judgment had been going on for. 5 years, we were able to collect. It was like 41 or 42,000. So, but we got her paid in full. And the attorneys that we contract with are members of the Commercial Law League throughout the entire United States. Just because you guys might be in New York, let's say the money's in California, we go where the money is, and then we contract with the attorney in California. So there's no middleman. Okay. And the attorneys also work on a contingency. The only thing you get hit with is you end up paying the court costs and the filing fees for the legal, but the attorney is not charging you by the hour. But that's only through us because we have special deals with attorneys and things of this sort. So, but I'll be quite frank with you. Rarely do things go legal. Rarely do things go to that extent because in the big picture, it's basically a waste of time and a waste of money. And
Wow.
as
So how long Cindy, how long you been doing this? Like, I'm
Almost
listening
30
to you.
years.
I was like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
no, seriously, almost 30 years. My days started
Wow.
with Westfield with Scott Grossman. I want to say back in like 91, 92. I grew up with him, and then people have morphed all throughout the United States, different companies. I met one guy. I met one guy at the ICSC show, and I said, "Where's Paul at?" And the lady motioned, and I was able to walk up behind him. He's been using me for 23 years through like 5 different companies, and we never met in person until last week. And I leaned down and I whispered in his ear. So I talked the crap out of him, which made me smile. It made him smile too. And as soon as I whispered in his ear, he knew. He instantly jumped up, gave me a big hug, and it was just awesome. But to this day, I'm still meeting people that have been with me for, almost 30 years that I've never met before, or even I've seen a picture. But up until COVID, there wasn't a big thing about doing video and doing, the Skype and doing, the Teams and all this kind of stuff. So it's made a huge difference. But I do love going to the show. And even though I'm on a damn scooter, which I hate, I feel like I need to have a sign is I have to have knee surgery. I'm not old. I'm not crippled. I just need knee.
Mina, I had an interesting experience the other day. I was showing properties to a family with 2 kids, and we had 10 to see. After viewing about half, the family was getting pretty hungry, and they really just wanted to continue the other day.
So what did you do?
I went to my car and pulled out a bag of delicious Rickey Jerky. They loved it so much they were able to continue our day without any issues. All the ingredients are 100% natural, plus every strip is seasoned, marinated, and smoked by hand to give you the best experience and slap you back into the gear. But I need to buy some more.
Oh, just head over to rickysjerky.com and use the discount code Decode REI for 15% off your first order.
So whether you're a busy real estate agent or just looking for mouth-watering snack on the go, Rickey Jerky got you covered. No, I thought you were just cool, man. It was a lot of walking and you're like in the scooter. I was jealous. I'm like, where can I get this scooter? And you're like, one hand is your tequila, the other you're like scooting around and and have like a little food in your basket. I'm like, whoa, what's going on over here?
And she does what? Right on.
Yeah.
So, listen, coming out of the event, how did you find yourself into this business? Number one, and then I'm guessing that back then or through the years, it's been a word to mouth recommendation by the good old boys business. I mean, you're talking about these people that you've been serving for 23 years and you never really met them in person. So I'm thinking they probably been doing business just because they said, "Oh, you have that problem? Talk to Cindy. Oh, let me give you Cindy's number." Or in, I just want to hear a little bit of the story, Cindy, if you will, please.
Well, I guess to put it in a nutshell, in the very beginning, I started working just for one agency. And then there was kind of like a split and this and that came up. So that I ended up working for 2 agencies because some of my clients got divvied up. And I was totally fine with that because I thought, well, it's unheard of that you have somebody in this industry work for 2 agencies, but I embraced it and it's worked out awesome because sometimes it's a matter of wearing people out, wearing the debtors out. So I place them with one agency, we get to a roadblock, then I know what the scoop is and I place it with the other agency and I say, okay, here's what you do, here's how you approach it, and this should get them to the table. And majority of the time that works. So it's part of playing the game. It's like, this person, for example, has a corporation that's shut down and they owe somebody 100,000 and maybe they owe accelerated rent, which I place the full amounts as well at time of placement. And I'm like, hey, they have XYZ and XYZ over here at, Simon or Westfield or JLL. And I'll let my collector know that up front. He'll make contact and say, yeah. Well, and the guy will be like, well, it's an out of business, corporation and we shut it down and blah, blah, blah. And that's well and good. But you also have a history of doing this. We also know you have XYZ here and XYZ there. Do you know we handle collections for them? And that's it. There's no threats. There's nothing. But a person who's not stupid, what's the first thing they're going to think? Oh, crap. How did they know about this? How did they know about that? My name isn't even on there. They're not listed as head honcho because sometimes people play that game too. But the last thing they want us doing is nosing around in their affairs. And it's just the thought of what we might do because we're not bound by the legal laws and everybody knows what the legal process is. How, not necessarily how long it takes, but what you have to go through to get there. You just don't instantly say, oh, somebody owes me money. And the judge says, okay, here you go. Here's your judgment. Do the courts collect the money for you? No. You have to find where the money is. You have to file the paperwork with the courts in order to get the courts to approve it. And then you hope the money is still sitting there, or the property is still sitting there, or the car that you want to repossess and they change the title the day before and they get away with it because it's perfectly legal. Or how many people do you know have filed a bankruptcy, whether it's a Chapter 7, 11, or 13? As soon as they file, guess what? Everything stops. Collections, legal, the whole 9 yards. It all goes through the bankruptcy courts. Do you see the bankruptcies getting wrapped up within 30 days?
Oh, it's years. Depends what kind of chapter they filed.
Well, exactly. And not to mention, there's also companies that file. And I mean, to this day, even though I've been doing this for 30 some years, I will tell you, I still learn new stuff every single day. I want to say, now I can't remember right now, but I want to say it was a Chapter 15 bankruptcy, which I had never heard of before.
There is a Chapter 15?
Yeah,
really?
I want to say Chapter 15, but I might be wrong, but it's a number I never heard of before. Okay.
Maybe 13. There is 11 and 13.
Well, there's 11, which is for businesses. 13 is for individuals, which is reorganization. Chapter 7 is out and out, straight blank bankruptcy for both. Mm-hmm. But I want to say it was like a Chapter 15. And this was a business that was in Canada that filed bankruptcy. And then they had to file the motion in the United States so that it was recognized here because we had an account here that we were collecting on. And anyway, we ended up getting money, but they had to file the legal paperwork. And yeah, it was a Chapter, I want to say 15. I had never heard of.
Wow. I never heard of that.
Because it was an out of country, which, I think of Canada, I don't really think of it as being another country, but technically it is. Okay. So yeah, I mean, they had to file, and it's just like they don't have attorneys in Canada; they have solicitors. So
hey,
it's the little things.
Cindy, is there a minimum? Is there a job too small for you or too big for you? Where do you draw your limits?
I told you this in the beginning.
Yes, I know you said if it's important to you, it's important to me. I know, but I really want to encourage people to reach out to you because it's about character, Cindy. It's not about being in trouble. It's about character.
Sometimes it's not the dollar amount. It's proving a point.
Correct.
Just like if somebody pisses you off. Somebody pisses you off. Is that going to make you feel good to call your attorney and say, hey, I need you to blah, blah, blah. And the attorney sends out the letter and the account sits for 30 days. Does that make you feel better?
No, ma'am.
Does it make you feel better if I say, okay, my collector will be on it within the hour? Chances are you will hear from them and you're going to have the final say, because if they do in fact call you, then it's going to be, you know what, Mina, I tried to tell you, I tried to work with you. It's out of my hands now, with a smile on your face, because you know we got underneath their skin so bad that they came running back to you and you basically got to say, blank you, out of my hand.
Yeah,
Now
absolutely.
talk to Cindy.
So,
The lovely
Cindy,
Cindy.
how can people find you?
I am not the collector, but no, it's. I have to tell you a funny story too. This happened with
You.
Sun Diamond, Sun Diamond Raisins, which is in California. This was back like probably 25, 28 years ago. My contact there, her name was Cindy too, and it's so friggin' funny because, I joke, I make people laugh, and like I said, I have a mouth on me. But I was telling her, keep in mind, Sun Diamond back then, I don't know how it is now, but it was a farmers co-op. So there were all these farmers who would sit around a table and go over, collections and this and that. So they finally decided to use collections, and I came highly recommended to them. And remind me, and I'll tell you about Cindy Lee as well, how that got started. But anyway, long story short, she's telling me about the farmers, what they've been through and all that. And I said, so it would make them feel really good then if we just send out Guido. And she's like, oh, yeah. When you think about back in the old days and the mobster movies and all that, and we send out Guido and we'll send a message to him. So she places this account with me. The first one's like 50 some $1,000. And she was just laughing, and said she was going to be sure and tell the story to the farmers co-op and all this. Next day I come into work and I have a message, and she's like, Cindy, you got to call me. I thought you were joking about Guido. I'm like, what the hell? Unbeknownst to me, the company that I worked for, all the collectors were based in Louisiana. There was a collector there named Guido. For real, that was his name. He got the account and he needed some additional info. He couldn't get a hold of me, so he tried getting a hold of Cindy at, Sun Diamond. And she played me the message, and all she heard was, hey, Cindy, this is Guido. Call me. And I'm like, oh my God. Well, at the end of our call, she was laughing hysterically. It almost still brings tears to my eyes just remembering her, like the sigh of relief, and then her laughing so hard because everybody thought it was a joke. Guido's going to pay him a visit and hang him upside down from a tree. And then all of a sudden, Guido's calling her. I mean, you talk about it working out so perfect. I mean, it's like crazy. And then there's a story behind Cindy's House of Pain. I had one client trying to get a hold of me, who is a client now at a different company to this day. But I'm like, where have you been? I finally got a hold of him after 2 weeks. He's like, Cindy, I've been trying to call you, but do you have like another business you're into? And I said, no, why? And he goes, well, the 800 number you gave me, I call it and it keeps going to a phone sex line. It was one digit off. And then ever since then, my client, he would call me. I know who it is. And I answer the phone. I say, Cindy's House of Pain, Visa, MasterCard, American Express. What is your pleasure?
Oh my
And he'll be
God.
like, Cindy, you can stop saying that now. It's been 10 years.
And then I'd worked with him on and off for the last 20 some years. And then about 3 years ago, he reaches out to me out of the blue, had a great talk. I recognized his name, but I didn't bring that name up or anything. Well, he calls me back 20 minutes later. And yes, we were laughing about the Cindy's House of Pain, but calls me back. It's his name on caller ID, the whole 9 yards. I answer the phone and I do Cindy's House of Pain, blah, blah, blah. And there is dead silence. This lady is on the other end. And she's like, I was calling for Cindy Lee. And I was like mortified. That is the first time ever that had happened. And I'm like, yes, this is she. And I said, she goes, well, I'm Paul's assistant. And I'm like, OMG. And then I explained to her everything, what had happened. She was laughing her ass off. A couple days later, phone rings, same name and all that. So I answer the phone. Hi, this is Cindy. And all I heard from, and I say Paul, but it wasn't Paul. It was, and I can't remember his name now. He's probably going to kill me if he sees this podcast. But anyway, and all I heard when I said, hi, this is Cindy. What the hell did you do to my assistant? You corrupted her. And I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah. And I mean, it's, but yes, I have fun with it, but I mean business. And like I said, I have a mouth on me. It just happens. And one of the things to this day, probably 90% of the companies that have been clients of mine for many years, and even new ones, they don't even know the names of the companies I work for. And I work for basically 3. They don't know.
Right. They know
It's Cindy
Cindy.
Lee.
Yeah,
got it.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Hey, Cindy, we are up to 30 minutes already. Where can our listeners find you? How can they connect with you?
You can go to my LinkedIn page, which I can send you a link. It's Cindy
Uh-huh.
Lee
Mhm.
Wilson. Wilson is my married last name. So Cindy Lee. I'm on the ICSC web under Cindy Lee Wilson. Or to just type in Cindy Lee and you'll see me. But I'm on LinkedIn. I don't have a website. I have the websites for the clients for the companies that I work for. But basically, the number that you have is also my direct number. They can just call me. References are impeccable. I can give people references that they need, make them, have that warm, fuzzy feeling. But I want to say again, probably 90% of the time, people that are calling me have heard of me. They know of me. They have people that know me. And so it's like I rarely get asked for references because they know. So
I love that. I
I
love
love it.
that.
I love it,
I can
Cindy.
I hope I never have to call you Cindy, but if I do,
you will be in very good hands because I'm not the collector, but I will make you laugh. Okay.
absolutely. I love that.
I want to call her. I don't want her to call me. Her people to call me. That's what I want.
But I
Because
told you
Cindy's
keep
amazing.
this in mind, ladies. When you have an issue, you call me at the first sign of trouble. That is part of my service to you. It doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't obligate you to anything. That is a service that I provide to all my clients. If there's something I think you can do on the account, I will tell you outright. I'll say, hey, try this, try that. Or I heard this room, or I heard that, say this, say that. I'm a master when it comes to playing the game. If I think you have a collection problem, I'm flat going to tell you, you need to place it for collections. And here's why. Because money, collections, it's not like fine wine. It doesn't get better with age. And it's a timing thing. It can change from day to day. I've had people that had money, were supposed to send, they end up dying, got hit by a car, got very sick, in the hospital. This happens, that happens, something else major comes up. Now they don't have the money they want to pay. Everything we do, the debtors are paying us voluntarily. Okay. There's no courts. There's no this. There's no that. We're not threatening anything. We're just simply saying, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's what we know. Either work with us or suffer the consequences. Choice is yours. Which do you prefer? And the other thing I want to cover too, in this day and age, especially if you are getting a hard luck story from somebody, what's typically the first words out of your mouth? Oh, Lydia, my mom died and I got
sorry.
sick and this happened and that happened. And you just said it. I'm sorry. Is that what you would say too, Mina?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So replace those 2 words. You never say you're sorry to something, because what does it mean when you say you're sorry? What's the first thing?
You admitting to something.
You're admitting to doing something wrong. Did you do something wrong?
Yeah.
Why do you say
No,
you're sorry
no,
then?
it's not
So part of the psychological aspect of collections, Mina, I understand that your mother just died. However, this is nothing personal. This is business. This is what you signed up for. You might have to say, I understand 10 times, but what's happening when you say I understand is this. First and foremost, you're acknowledging, Mina, I heard what you said. Okay. I understand. So you acknowledge I heard you, or I'm acknowledging that I heard you. But more importantly, it allows you to take control back of the conversation. How many times have you talked to people where you couldn't get a word in edgewise because they're running their
Oh
mouth?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Especially when this
Absolutely.
happens and all you keep going is, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It's like, you know what? I understand, Mina. However, blah, blah, blah. I understand, Mina. However, this is what's happening and the choice is yours. So you either work with me right here, right now on this call. This is called the 2-option close, or you're going to have to deal with collections. And trust me, Mina, you do not want to work with those people. They are not nice. You know,
Oh yeah.
can't succeed.
Absolutely.
So you're
Mhm.
making a last ditch effort. Sometimes accounts are beyond that. And I'll say, you know what? You need to flat place it. Here's why. And the thing is, if there's money there, we'll find it. If it's a piece of crap account, I'm going to tell you it's a piece of crap. More importantly, you're going to know why it's a piece of crap and what you can do differently to prevent it from happening again in the future. So for
Mhm.
me, it's plain and simple. It's all about the money. It's not rocket science. It's how you play the game. And that's where I excel. You will not find anybody like me. Trust me. You won't find anybody like me that knows how to play the game better. And as far as the rates and all that stuff, I work with people. I try to help them out as much as possible. But the bottom line is, we're not the cheapest. We're not the most expensive. You get what you pay for. And what you don't get anyplace else is me.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I just feel sad for the upcoming generations that all these flavorful, colorful people are disappearing because now the youngsters are so used to the phone. And it's such a joy to talk to real, live people. And I don't know. I just want to
Yes.
thank you for
Thank you.
for all of that, Cindy. It was such a pleasure.
Well, that's how I
Cindy.
kind of hook them in, and I won't say the other thing I wanted to say. Or we'll do
Yes.
that for next
Thank
time.
you.
But
Next time, we'll bring you back. I'm sure that our listeners would want to know more. So we'll bring you back. Lovely as always.
thank
You know, that's why we connected instantly because I felt your energy and you felt mine.
and we were
And I
talking
love
for
you to
what,
pieces.
5
Thank you.
minutes? I mean,
Yeah, I know,
yeah,
right?
it was
You don't
just
have to
boom,
talk
boom,
for
but we
hours.
had that connection, and that's all we needed. So
Yep.